How are you?
Ooh,
Oh,
trying to
right.
knock my camera over. I'm good. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. I have my coffee,
Yeah,
um,
also.
and that's basically what I need in the morning. Although I will say this,
Tell me.
my so Karen has been taking supplements recently, right?
Yeah.
She's been taking supplements for like the last year or so. She started just getting into like um, different
For like getting
like
jacked.
No. Well,
Oh,
no, actually I don't think she's yeah, so she tried some getting jacked supplements I think earlier on in her powerlifting journey.
yeah, right.
And I think it was just not like I mean, I so there's wait, so that's a whole. So I guess we know what we're going to talk about for the next 20 minutes until we finally get on track.
Uh-oh. All right, give
um
it to me.
well, no, but that's like a whole thing, right? Like
It
the
is a
whole
whole thing. Yeah.
and so there's the question of supplements versus like stuff that goes beyond like takes you farther than supplements, right? Like um
Like
PEDs or
tea?
like no like PEDs
Oh,
like
yeah.
exogenic assists,
Sure,
right?
sure. Sure, sure.
Like stuff that you take that makes you that just like in its nature makes you better at doing the thing, which like for me is such an interesting question, right? Because it's like spinach counts, right? Like spinach will make you if you eat spinach, you're going to be better than if you didn't, right?
Right.
Like that's not true about pizza necessarily. Sometimes it's probably true about pizza, but like it's actually always true about spinach, right? So our spinach is spinach a PED, right? Performance enhancing
Uh,
drug,
I don't know. I mean, I knew
right?
what you meant, PD, but yeah, I don't
Right, right.
know.
Right.
It's
Well, but you know what I'm saying?
well,
Like
yeah, I mean, I suppose it could be.
I mean, it's got like good macronutrients and micronutrients rather. It doesn't really have it like has zero macronutrients, but like it has good micronutrients that like makes your body work better, right?
Yeah.
And so like I don't and like
Can I
but
eat it
so
raw? Is raw
right.
okay?
Well, is that the question? Is it about raw? Like
I mean, that's a question for me because I hate cooked spinach, but I'll eat it raw.
oh, okay. Well, I'm saying like so like where's the line? When does it become like a drug, you know?
Yeah.
And I don't
Well,
really understand that.
yeah.
Like
I,
I like obviously spinach is an extreme, right? Like we know that spinach is not a drug, but like I'm not sure that I know that I'm not first of all, I'm not sure that I understand what it means to occur naturally, right? Like in nature,
yes.
right? So and then uh I'm not sure where the fine line is between like processed to the degree to which it becomes a drug, you know.
Right.
So help break this down for me, Jesse, because
Well,
I don't.
okay. I mean, I don't know that
You're
this is the
clearly
answer.
the expert in this conversation.
I don't know that I have an answer, but here's what occurs to me. The drugs I used to take to modify my multiple sclerosis, right? Like disease modifying drug. That's the way they label it. Like I can take vitamin D and that's good for me and that will help me, but it will not modify the disease. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the line that they would do for like my autoimmune disease.
Sure.
Uh but okay, so the drug I used to take, I don't anymore. I have a different one now, but it is derived from a fungus that lives on larval cicadas. Hang out with that for a second,
Yeah, it's pretty
right?
gross, but okay.
I don't know. I find it kind of thrilling. Anyways, because the only reason the fungus gets to survive on the larval cicada is because it fucks with the larval cicada's immune system.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So if you can then I'm going to say distill because I have no idea what the scientists actually did. But if you can
Right.
distill that to a certain level, then it's going to modify my immune system in what turns out to be beneficial ways uh, for me. So yes, it occurs naturally. That being said, I don't know that going out and digging up larval cicadas and munching on them for dinner is going to have the kind of effect that it does once the scientists do whatever the hell they did to it.
Right. Right. Right.
But I mean, if
So-
I got desperate, I'd give it a shot. Like, if we're in the zombie apocalypse, right? Maybe I'm eating larval cicadas.
Right. Yeah. So I think that's a really poignant and germane expression of this thing that I'm talking about, right? Which
Yeah.
is like, so Karen's taking these supplements, which are not drugs, as of yet, but so apparently like within the last month or so, they've been talking about making one of these supplements that she's been taking for like 2 years a drug. And so like there's a whole question about like what's going to happen with that. So I don't know. But anyway,
yeah. And why is it becoming a drug, right? Because
Right.
there are definitely some monetary reasons that a supplement would want to become a drug, potentially.
Right. Right.
Like
Or
both,
that or like that a drug company would want a supplement
That's
to
what I
be
mean.
a drug. Right.
That's what I mean.
Right. Just to say it like clearly for audience members that may not be plugged in to the extent that we are, right?
May
right
not
now.
understand the way my brain works.
So that's certainly and I wouldn't even call it a possibility, right? Because it's not a possibility. It's a fundamental truth, right? Like people who stand to benefit from it becoming a drug are working towards that end.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
The degree of influence that they have over the final, assessment, as a drug or not, is what's open to debate, right? So like, and
legit.
they are a factor, a smaller factor, although we don't know to what degree it's smaller, but they are a factor in the question. And in the result, right? Like the outcome is going to have been influenced by those people who stand to benefit financially from it becoming a drug.
Yeah.
Right. But there also could be other reasons, right? Like there could be other factors, and there may even, like, it's possible that there are influences that actually have like the quote unquote people's best interest in mind. Right.
It's always possible.
Right. We shouldn't just like unequivocally dismiss in the same way that we're not going to unequivocally dismiss those people who could benefit monetarily as a real influence on that. And we shouldn't dismiss people who actually are interested in like protecting people or whatever. Of course, the answer that the FDA is going to give is that is some bullshit that may or may not be true or false. So
Right.
like, so what they're saying is, I don't remember the name of the pathway, but it's like this vitamin, it's like this vitamin B supplement. It's
Mhm.
called NMN.
Okay.
I don't know anything else about it. Is uses this pathway that's also used by some cancers or whatever.
I see.
And so it could potentially, like, if you end up with this cancer and you're like, that pathway is super active, that it could help spread something. I don't know. So
Right.
that's all I know. I'm not an expert in physiology or pathways. So
yeah, like
right.
well beyond my pay grade.
Yeah. But so the point that I was going to make is I stumbled on this information down YouTube rabbit holes or whatever.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh yeah, Karen's taking all that stuff. And like the people that I was listening to were just people complaining about how beneficial it was and how upset they were that the FDA was going to make it cost a bunch more money. I was like listening to all the benefits, and I've heard them before, but I was like, I wish that I could take drugs. or take supplements rather, right? And I can't. I'm the worst at it because I'm lazy and I don't have like, I don't have like a rhythm and a schedule that I can like make sure I take my supplements.
Oh yeah, habit forming is hard.
It is. But I shamed my wife into making a little tray for me in the morning. So
Oh.
I took my supplements 3 days in a row now, and I'm not sure that I'm feeling the effects yet, but I don't know. I'm here for it. Let's fucking go.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. Good job. 3 days in a row. You only have 10 times that, and then it might be close to a habit.
Yeah. Or like I just it's what I think the hardest part for me is just like wrapping my head around all the different bottles and stuff. Like okay, how many of these freaking pills am I supposed to have? Because she's got me on everything now. She's got me on all the different like wheat germ or whatever. I don't know. I just made that up.
Sure.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. I hear you. So I had to add in, I don't take a lot of supplements. Like I take vitamin D because of my disease, and I take my actual medicine for my disease, and then B12 because like my blood was crazy low on that, and that can like add to depression and other stuff. And like the doctor was like, I don't know why you're low, like eat more meat, also take this. So so I take that, and that basically was it, right? Like those 3 are the ones I can't miss. And then I try to take like fish oil, but then because I hate fish, but I know that's good for you.
Yeah.
Blah,
like omega-3 fatty acids. I remember 20 years ago, I was told that I was supposed to take my omega-3 fatty acids.
Yeah. So, so I try to remember that, but then I don't really care. Right. And those are all in the morning. And that's pretty easy because I drink so much coffee that then my mouth feels disgusting. Then I have to brush my teeth. And then I remember, oh yeah, take your medicine because you're brushing your teeth. Right.
Ah, yeah. Gotcha.
And that's like
that's your program.
My reminder. That's how I get there. Coffee, brush teeth, medicine. But okay, so there's this one that is still in the supplement world, right? Like you can just buy it as a vitamin.
Yep.
But it prevents macular degeneration, which my grandma had, and now my mom has.
Oh. And so you're like, I'm going to start supplementing with stuff that's going to help me stem that off.
Yeah. And like, again, like it's a supplement. And my mom was like, you should start taking this. And I was like, okay, mom, because my mom takes everything, right? And sometimes I'm like, placebo is great, but I don't need to spend a lot of money on expensive urine, right?
Right.
So I was like, okay, mom. And then my eye doctor was like, you need to start taking this. And then I was like, oh, okay, it's real. The problem is that's a twice a day one. I have to do it in the morning and at night. At night.
I'll tell you right now, that's out of the cards. Like I don't care what like system you put in place. Like I'm not going to take something at night. It's just.
And the thing is I brush my teeth at night, but my brain does not
you're
that.
in shutdown. Because like the last thing you do is brush your teeth, right? Like all you're thinking is like, all right, I'm going to bed. I'm going to lay on my bed and do nothing for the next half an hour. And it's going to be awesome. And then I'm going to go sleep. Right. Like you're not thinking like, you know what I mean? Yeah. There's no, not a chance.
It's so annoying to me because I feel like the teeth brushing should be the impetus, but at night it just isn't. It just isn't. At night.
So do you miss it or? Do you miss it, or do you like beat yourself up about it, or how do you manage?
Who cares, right? Like, I mean, no, I don't beat myself up about it at all.
But also, like, you don't always take it or whatever.
I don't always take it. No, I frequently miss it. But I'm actively working on it, and my method for that is by telling lots of people that I have to do it.
There you go.
And even though they aren't calling me to say, Jess, did you remember?
No.
Like the fact that I told other people somehow makes it more pertinent to my brain.
So, so it's like I've been talking a lot about this with Tommy getting ready for his wrestling season. It's just talking about stuff, talking through stuff, right? Makes it real, right? And I think it goes back to that story thing, which is like, we tell the story of our lives, right?
We do
tell the story of our lives, and then we live the story that we've told, right?
Yeah.
Whether or not we've told her, well, right, that's true. Well, no, but that's sort of like the nature of pathology, right? You might sum the nature of pathology down to what degree do you actually live the story that you tell yourself or others, right? Like,
right. Well, isn't that what they say about goal setting? Is that it can be detrimental to achieving your goals to tell someone about the goal you're trying to achieve, because they frequently will say, oh, that's really great, and be very supportive, and then you get that balm of support despite not having done the thing.
Oh yeah, that's interesting.
And then you lose some motivation to do the thing.
Right.
So I don't know if that's true, but that's one of those things that's been in the zeitgeist lately.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. I think one thing is speaking of goals, we were talking about this yesterday too. It's worth mentioning, like goals, like what is a goal worth setting, right? But yeah, right. So like, okay, that's
take a pill at night, baby. Come on now.
Well, so that's it. No, that's it. That's actually, I would say that's a goal we're setting, right? Like that's a goal we're setting because it's something reasonable. It's something that you can work towards, and it's something that you can achieve, and it's something that doesn't it, like, there are embedded within the goal, there are clear steps towards achieving it.
Yeah.
Right. So so the problem of
and it's measurable.
Goals,
I did or I didn't.
Right. You did or you didn't. And you can scale it, right? You can say like, okay, take the pill tonight. Right? Take the pill tonight. Right? Take the pill most nights this week. Can I take the pill? Can I do that? Can I take the pill 5 out of 7 nights this week? Okay. Most nights this month, right? Whatever. And you can scale it. And then eventually it gets there. But like what would be a horrible goal? Right? Would be like, I take this pill, right?
Yeah, because it's not time framed and it's not measurable and it's not. Yeah.
And the moment that
rules.
and the moment that you don't take it, you've undermined the integrity of the goal, right?
Yeah.
You've undermined the integrity of the goal, and you're basically defeating yourself, right? Because now the goal itself is kind of meaningless, and you don't have to adhere to it. And so then it's like, well, I don't do this. Like I have this goal of doing this, but I don't. And so I'm not, and so then it's okay. Right.
I think a lot of people try to set goals to be better. Like, I'm going to be better about.
Yes.
Oh,
right.
That's not a goal.
Well, and the goal is like, I'm just going to be a better version of me. Right. Like that's the goal. But that doesn't tell you anything about how to get there. There's nothing embedded within that like gives you clearly defined steps of like achieving it. Right.
And there's no end point. My God, you got to succeed at some time. Right.
Well, and it's the same thing of like, let's say it's like for example, a belt test, right? Which is how this came up.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay,
like,
cool.
I know what my goal is. I'm going to be a black belt in 5 years, right? Or whatever. Right. It's like, okay. So 5 years goes by, like, what have you done? Right. The problem with saying I'm going to be a black belt in 5 years is it doesn't actually map out your program for getting to be a black belt in 5 years. It's just like you're just like going to try to you know what I mean? So like what the goal should be is like, I'm going to like, okay, what are the requirements for learning to be or becoming a black belt? Like the requirements are, I have to show up at class this amount of time. I have to know these techniques. I have to be able to demonstrate these techniques, by this amount of time, right? Like that's how you set your goal. So I'm not saying like you can't have an ambition to be a black belt in 5 years or whatever. Like we all have ambitions, but like when we're talking about goals, that's a different thing, and we have to differentiate and isolate and make sure that we're approaching our goal in a certain way. So Tommy is getting ready for his wrestling season.
Yeah.
He has what he might have called a goal maybe a couple of days ago to go to state.
Sure.
Right. That would have been his goal, right?
Yeah.
But that's not a realistic goal, right?
You're not in charge of that.
He's not in charge of that. And there's a lot of things that he needs to do to get to where there's a higher probability, right? And those are things that he actually does have control over, right? So maybe his goal can be, I'm going to dedicate this amount of time to specific focused training in these areas, this week, next week.
Yeah.
And my goal is to win this match coming up, right? And improve in this way or whatever. And my ambition is that if I follow this program, I'll get there and I'll go to state, right? Or whatever. Does that make sense? That's sort of the conversation that we had.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I am with you in a broad sense. That being said, I think so way back in time, a long time ago, there was, I think I've mentioned this definitely to you. I don't know if on the podcast. There's this martial artist named Pete Couts, Alliance Martial Arts. Y'all can look him up if you want. He's in upstate New York, and he
do me a favor. Keep talking. I'm gonna fill my coffee, but
of
I'm
course.
listening. So.
God, I wish I had more coffee. So Pete, back in the day when this was the thing to do, he used to put out lots of DVDs and audio CDs about the martial arts he teaches and kind of his approach and all of these things. And so there was this audio CD he put out that was called something to the effect of how to improve your martial arts learning rate in 30 days or less, or something very silly like that. And the point was that it was silly, but in that he kind of talked through how to be a martial artist. And one of the things he talked about was having a training notebook. And in the very beginning, you would put 3, what he called like expansive macro goals. So that would be go to state, get my black belt. What did I have in my notebook? I had teach internationally. No, I hadn't taught anywhere other than at my home club. Like, how the fuck would I get to teach internationally? I don't know. Right. But put 3. He always rules of 3, we're Western. So put 3 of those just ideas, dreams, in the front. And then you put in, what am I working on right now? And then you put in, what did I do at class tonight? And then you put, you see. And so he had this whole thing on how to break out your notebook. And the notebook system was what eventually got you to, what are my steps? How am I going to get there? Right. And he didn't outline for any of us that's how it was going to work. He left it very broad and kind of let you discover it, which was kind of cool.
Yeah.
But the benefit to having those insanely unachievable, nebulous ideas is that's the joy.
Sure. Well, okay. So yeah, exactly. And I would say, why is it the joy? And I would probably argue immediately that it goes back to identity, and it's about how we conceive of ourselves as being this person who, right. And you're right. Well, so we do need those, right? I couldn't agree more and more profoundly, right?
Yeah, definitely not a goal. Agreed. Not a goal.
Right. That's the thing, right? Like it's cool what you're describing, right? Because it is a way of mapping. It is a way of mapping, like connecting, like real concrete things that you can do to put you on this path to becoming this person you want to be.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But the other
And
thing
there's
too,
something fucking beautiful about like whenever I went to Swordfish, which was like 6 years later, flipping open that notebook and drawing a line through that motherfucker, and then writing in translate a German work, right? And when did I just do that? Just now. I get to draw a line through that shit, right?
Yeah.
So you see, there's something there.
There's totally something there. And also it's cool to connect. It's cool to see how it's possible to connect real steps that you're taking right now to this grand vision that you have for your life, right?
A vision you have no idea how you're going to get there. And it doesn't matter that you don't know how you're going to get there. Because to circle it around to where we wanted to go, because in the doing, you discover the path, right?
Yes. In the doing, you discover the path. And also, what's also cool is that you discover, you may discover, right? So like you may discover that that ambition that you had, what I called the ambition, is not right for you, right?
Oh yeah,
because you've discovered the path. Yeah, exactly, right. Because really, we do live in the present. And we see and our sense of who we want to be comes from the experiences that we're having now. But having a map or having a sense of where we want to end up, or who we want to end up, right? Will guide us through the present. And then we develop through that experience, we develop a clearer picture of who we want to be. Right?
Yeah.
Or I don't know. I'm at this point, I'm just kind of rambling, but
I'm with it though. Yeah. Because here's the thing, like oftentimes I think people who are newer to martial arts or I mean, probably anything, but I mean, we're going to speak to martial arts because that's what we know best, I think, probably. Right. They'll be like, damn, Jess, how do you get the motivation to pick up your sword every fucking day and train every fucking day? Well, because I don't perceive it as this laborious fucking task that, like, it's not like doing my dishes, right? I hate doing my dishes. I have to do them every day, but I hate it. Right?
Yeah, it doesn't figure into your like notebook at all.
No. No. Yeah. Nothing about housework achieves me towards the better person I dream of being, right? I mean, that's not true. I actually have found a way to incorporate that, but that's neither here nor there. Right. No, I don't enjoy that. But having the dream or the ambition to be whatever that is for me right now, I need to work on my notebook, is the joy that lets me go, oh man, oh shit, what does this mean? I don't know. Let me think about that for a minute. And to think about it, I got to pick up a sword, and now I'm just with my sword, right?
Yeah. Something that you said sort of gave me a little bit of an aha moment.
Yeah.
So the who we want to be, right? It's constantly changing.
Yes.
Right. And the moment that we achieve who we want to be, or like we, the moment we realize our ambition, it loses its power, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's a sense in which it can or has, like, and not for everybody and not in every particular instance, but there's a sense in which, like, the moment you achieve it, it's like, I don't even care that I did. I don't know
Yeah,
why I did. Right.
right.
And that's okay. It's actually okay to do that. I wouldn't say it's okay to say, well, that was a waste. Right. Like, or at least unequivocally.
No.
Right. There may be cases where it was in fact a waste. But we have to remember that it's always only really meant to be that guide to get us through the present, right? Because the joy of life is experiencing the present, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It really
Um,
is, isn't it?
and so, like, it's okay that, like, okay, I achieved this thing, and now it basically doesn't fulfill me now.
No.
Right. And so I
No.
have to put something else there on the horizon so that I can march towards it, right? Because it's the marching, like, that's life, is the marching.
Is it?
I think you have to tell me more.
Well, that's okay. So that's certainly a conception that we could take, that life is in the marching towards something. But I wonder if, because we're never marching towards anything, we just are here, that having, boy, we're framing this interestingly, aren't we? Having this ambition out front and having this who we've been out behind us lets us know where we are. It isn't that we're going anywhere. It's that we don't know where the fuck we are. And we need that in front of us to orient.
Yeah.
Is that a thought?
It's definitely a thought.
I don't know that I believe that, but
no, well, so you know where my head went immediately,
huh.
Is astronomy.
Yeah.
Right. So that was in the cards, but we haven't, like, seen each other in so many weeks because of various things. And so we never got to, like, have that conversation
To get
in
to
public.
astronomy.
well, right. So, like, we were talking about time and space-time and ancient peoples. Like,
I think we talked about this a little bit. I think you called me and yes.
Oh, you and I talked about it, but
not on the pod,
we haven't.
No.
Right. So, like, but it's interesting, right? Because when we think about it in a modern way, right? When we think about where we are, in terms of linear time, in a modern way,
right?
We don't need everything becomes way more nebulous, right? Whereas thinking about time and space in a pre-modern way, and thinking about time as a relationship with the revolution of the Earth around the sun and the rotation of the Earth and the sort of the wobble, right? Because that's what all of those things are, what create the various ways that we see the stars,
right?
And so there's always a sense of time exists as a manifestation of movement.
Oh yeah, movement is a requirement for time.
Right.
Yeah.
And the orientation change. So the orientation is defined by the way that the cosmos the features of the cosmos are change, right? And what they
Mhm.
were and what they'll become,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
And so that's, as you were saying, what you're saying, like this idea of what our vision for ourself,
Right.
right, is sort of placing ourselves in between a past and a future.
Right. Yeah.
I want you to talk. Go ahead.
I'm just saying that's vor knocking indes. Continue.
What I want you to talk about is the articles that you shared about the culture that experienced time backwards.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean,
Well, and as much as you have your head wrapped around it, right?
well, I think you threw all that into question with your
No.
your own
Not there yet.
study into
I'll
this.
debunk it later.
Okay. Yes, friends, this is the way James and I work, is that one of us gets very excited about an idea and the other one poo-poos it. And then we discuss.
I don't know. It's not that we poo-poo it as much as we share this thing that we heard 6 years ago that poo-poos it, but that's not important.
Right?
So here's the thing, like one way or the other.
Who cares? It's cool.
Who cares? It's cool. Right. Yeah, exactly.
Right?
And it's all just framing, and it's okay to frame things in ways like whatever.
Right.
Go for it.
So like our language, our view, whatever, we have been talking about the future being in front of us and the past being behind us, because we're talking about it as though we are walking a path, and we even said moving towards, right? And so like it is as though time is a line on a piece of paper and we are little ants marching along the line, which is a callback to Wrinkle in Time and a Tesseract, if anybody read that shit as children. Anyways, so I was just literally picturing that image. So so that's the way we just described it. But apparently there's an Andean culture that talks about the past as being in front of them and the future behind them, because it's what you can see and what you can't see, like what you know and what you don't know. And so they kind of talked about, or at least in this article I was reading, they were talking about watching a member of this culture who was speaking about their mother being here and their grandmother being here and their great grandmother being here. So the past moved further away from them, in front of them. And dude, it's such a cool way to think about it, right? Thinking about the past being in front of you, because of course we ruminate on the past, right? We very infrequently ruminate on the future. But boy, we think about the past a lot, and we look at it, we examine it, and so we have all of those things in our language, right? We talk about examining the past, right? So it must be here. But then when we talk about our future, we put it out there and we try to go at it,
Right.
I don't know.
Right.
It's cool. It's interesting.
I couldn't agree more. And it's the only way. It's the only way to live life, is to think about that aspect of this bizarre framing of time, and,
right?
And like this foreign alien culture that we don't understand, and what the implications are for us.
Yeah, right? If any.
Right. Right. No, that's it. Yes. Yes. We can only have a deeper, higher resolution, like higher fidelity version of the world by thinking about that.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So now we're going to talk about karate.
Yes. And hard and soft.
Yeah. So, well, but before we get to hard and soft, tell me about this guy.
I mean, I know what YouTube says about him. But I somehow or another, YouTube showed me one of his videos maybe a year ago. And I was just like instantly subscribe because I was just fascinated with the way he was talking about things. It really resonated with me. I know there's a lot of talk about in HEMA circles about internal cueing versus external cueing, and there's a lot of discussion about that as a modern sports science and all that, and all that's well and good. That being said, I am a person who enjoys internal cueing, even if it's not best for me sportively. And so he talks about a lot of internal cueing in ways that that I like and that I learned a lot from, frankly. I'm just learning from him. Yeah, that's that.
Right. Right. And specifically, he has he really leans into metaphor, right?
Yeah.
Which is a thing that is anathema to us as modern Western people, right? We like there's no metaphor. Except like we always need metaphor all the time, right? It's like powerlifting. They're like bend the bar, like make it into a horseshoe, right? It's like
but it helps.
and all of it totally. That's what like if that's the science.
Screw your feet into the ground so that you can squat, right?
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Exactly. So like, but when we're talking about it, when we're trying to be intellectuals, we eschew that, and
yeah. Well, I mean, like. I don't know. I'm me. I'm always metaphor. That's all I do.
No, right. Oh, totally. Like, yeah, I'm 1,000%. Like, it's all. I honestly like. I think back when I did the horsey HEMA thing with Jack. And I had spent a lot of time with Bob. That Bob was on the podcast that one time. And actually, I think we need to get him on again because we were having a conversation that he was inspired by a podcast that we did recently, and
awesome.
He had a bunch of insights that I was like, oh man, you should just say all this, but in front of people.
And say it.
Right. But anyway, so I was spending a lot of time with Bob, and I was just like, it's all a metaphor. It's just all a metaphor, right? Like, and like, because we were talking about humors and the utility of humors. And I had realized in a moment, or I decided in a moment, that it wasn't clear to me that humors weren't the more appropriate metaphor for using as a framework to guide a particular experience that I was having.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Like just, and it's all a metaphor anyway. And so like, maybe the answer is just like, it's okay to use humors.
Just lean into it. Right.
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
Because frankly, like, well, I mean, what did I say the other day to you? I said something about breaking up water molecules, and then it's no longer water, right? Like if you break it up into oxygen and whatever the hydrogen, then it's not water anymore. And like you and I have no meaningful relationship with a fucking molecule.
Right.
It might as well just be a metaphor. It's not real.
Right.
In our life.
Exactly.
So
totally 1,000. Like, well, I mean, and just like when it was molecules specifically and atoms that just made me decide like, okay, fuck this. This is all. It's just stupid, right? Because the model that I was given, that I've been given my whole life throughout higher education, right? Is that there's like a nucleus and it's made up of these little orbs and they're all like smushed and connected together. And then there are these other little orbs that like go in these circles around the thing, right? And like, that's not true at all. That's not what it looks like. It's not what a molecule is. And so, right, like if that's not true, and that's like what it's just like deeper and deeper to get to where it falls apart. But it just falls apart eventually, regardless.
Right.
So like the question isn't what is true, right? The
Yes.
question is, to what degree is this particular way of thinking about it useful to you to getting to where you want to be in the moment, right?
That's it.
So like, yes, let's go with the metaphor. Like I'm like, it's over for me. Like that ship sailed.
Good.
It's all a metaphor.
Nice.
But anyway, but this guy, he leans into metaphor, and he's all about like thinking about like what you're doing, which by the way is a metaphor, right? Like what you're doing, the story of your life is a metaphor. It's not real.
Nope. Nope. And in
Except,
fact, every time you think about it, you recreate it anew. So
yeah. Yep. Yes.
we know that too. It's so good. God, I love
It's
it.
awesome. Right?
It's the most freeing thing ever to
It's
just
totally freeing. It's totally
lean
freeing.
into how everything is a fucking made up hallucination.
Yeah.
So why not make something nice if I'm making it all up anyway?
Right. Or at least something that you think is nice.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I think this is nice. I go to state, I get a black belt. This is who I am.
I feel real good about it. All right. So let's look at, I think it's, how do you pronounce his name? Houghton? I'm honestly not sure. But this gentleman right here, and let's listen for a minute to what he has to say, because it's pretty cool. Play.
I don't hear him.
No, you don't hear him? Really? Oh,
I really don't.
Shoot. I don't know. Oh no, we have tech issues then.
Oh, here. Well, maybe I can try.
Okay.
What timestamp did you use?
Like 6:45.
6:45. I got it here.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see if this works.
If not, we'll just put the thing in the link and other people can watch it later. I mean, we should put the thing in the link in the thing.
Yeah, we're gonna do that one way or the other.
Yeah. There you go.
Can you see?
I can. I'll turn.
Okay. Can you hear?
Line. Say.
Okay.
Push against my hand. If I'm pushing in one line, his body can orient against my hand, so I feel that kind of stuff. But if I relax my arm and make a curve, it's like he has no idea how to push back, because that line is ever changing. It's like you can't keep up with that vector as it's changing. Do you follow that idea? And so here's the virtue in suppleness and relaxation, is because when your body is totally relaxed, it's like a bunch of chaotic vectors that the guy can't orchestrate behind, yet they all have the same intention. They're all going in the same direction. It's why you can hold a stick and balance it, but you can't hold a chain. But if you let go, they both fall in the exact same orientation, right? You follow that idea? So I mean, it seems so counterintuitive, but there's great power in this sort of soft approach. And of course, some styles, if you go way back in their essence, that's what Goju was. It's hard, soft. Like, it's the value of both, right? So when he comes in, I want you to come in. So I don't want you to have this reactiveness, like, whoa feeling. I want you to be more like, no. So he comes in and basically, no. Now I feel no all the way through my feet. No. It's not no. It's in my feet, no. Okay, so as soon as he comes in, it's like, no. And again, my orientation is always here. A lot of stuff, right? Okay, so try now. It's a little more karate. Okay? Try that. So in my 20 years of knowing Sao Tome Sensei, I have...
Yeah. I'm just grinning like a fool the whole time. It's so good.
Yeah, really good. Really, really good. I love, so, let me stop. I guess I can stop sharing. All right. What I love about that, or the way that, like, what immediately comes to mind for me is like thinking about strong and weak, right? Like, so, and the analogy of the broomstick and the chain is so good.
Yes.
because it's like gravity, right, is the orientation of like strong, right? So the energy, the pressure, everything, the direction of force is that for me, right? So gravity is like is like that direction, but at the same time, there's a yielding quality to all your entire being, right?
Yeah.
And so, but anyway, sorry. So, but tell me, and so like the weak is your entire body, right? And every direction other than like gravity, but also it's like it's being held there, but it's also directing its energy in that direction. Sorry. All right.
Yeah. No. I mean, okay. So I was talking about this. Here's the metaphor I used in a sword conversation last night. Was I said to this person, have you ever had your car stuck in mud or snow or whatever? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, okay. What happens if you hit the gas too hard? Well, you just spin out. What if you hit it too not enough gas? Nothing happens. The car just kind of goes, you know? Yeah. Right. So how do you find the sweet spot? You don't. You give it a little too much, a little too less, a little too much, a little too less. And then all of a sudden there's a feeling there. Right. And then at some point, you know, this is when you slam the gas and you're going to get free. Right. But you don't know where that time is until there's a rhythm and there's a moment and there's a changing feel. And then you feel
there's
it.
A connection. Yeah. To when you actually feel like you've grabbed onto it.
Yes.
Right.
And then
like,
you
okay,
grab it.
Yeah. And then once you have it, you have it.
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
Right. But that time doesn't exist until you make that. Right. And that is in between the interplay of hard and soft. I'm calling those hard and soft. To me, weak and strong or something else. We know we conceive of this different. But,
yeah, that's fine.
But yeah, you know, too much gas, not enough. Too much, not enough. Too much, not enough. Wham! Just the right amount in the right time. And so, because the question was, how can it be that the text says to stand in Sprechfenster, chill, no hurry, no rush, just look at him, just see what's up, right? Just bind, hang out, and immediately, quickly do things. How can both of those exist at the exact same time? And so I created this metaphor to then say, there's no rush when you're getting the feel, because you have to get the feel. But once you know it, you got to hit it in immediately, quickly in that moment. Yeah. And that's how those both exist at the same time.
I like the idea of establishing that connection, right? Is its own process, right? And that's what the Sufestion is, right? And
that's what
from both perspectives, right? So from the perspective of the person who's attempting to establish a connection, but also from the perspective of a person who's interested in creating a false sense of connection, right? Because as you know, we're both trying to establish a connection, or I mean, sometimes, right? Sometimes the other person isn't trying to establish anything, and those are not the most useful fencing bouts for me. But like, so there's like establishing the connection, right?
Yeah.
But the thing is, if you're too invested in the connection, then it's easy to be taken advantage of, right? Like that we have to remember that when we have it, we have to go, right? We have to seize, seize the vor, so to speak.
Yeah, right. But okay, so but I'm gonna press against the idea of a false sense of connection. There is a connection, even in a misdirection, because it will not misdirect without
not a false sense of connection in our mind, right?
Yeah.
Like we're thoroughly connected in the way that we want to be to the other person, but to maybe so like how do we mislead the other person?
They have to connect with us for us to mislead them.
Sure.
to my view. Because that's what my judo teacher always used to say. He had this phrase. He would say, you have to make him believe it.
Mhm.
He has to connect with the idea. So you have to believe your idea. But you can, at the same time as you completely and totally believe in the idea, I'm about to do an asodagari. Like, I have to believe in my asodagari until he believes it. And then I'm going to do a propping ankle. Because I am not going to be emotionally attached to my belief in my asodagari.
Right. No, I'm here.
It's
right?
so weird. It's so weird.
It's kind of like the so it's going back to that chain metaphor, right? It's like you're the chain, right? You're like here, and what you're trying to do is you're trying to get them to like focus their strength, right? What I would call strength, against like a link, right? Like so the chain, like you're coming down like a chain in a vertical line, right?
Yeah.
So that they get underneath it, they direct their energy underneath it, right?
Yeah.
And they stop that link, right? But then the rest of the chain goes, whoosh, right?
Yeah.
Right. So that link, that vertical line, that energy that you're directing towards that, is there. And it's real. And that person is really getting in front of it.
Yeah.
Right. Getting ahead of it, stopping that link from hitting the ground.
And if they don't, you can hit them linearly, and that's fine.
Yeah, right. Exactly. If they don't do anything, then it just goes down in a straight line, and that's the first thing that hits. Great, right? but if they do, right, the energy's still moving. Nothing's changed about the direction of something's changed about the direction of force of the other change. The other links in the chain, but nothing's changed about their momentum.
Right. Yes. Well, yeah. And it's someplace else in the video, he talks about the idea of trying to grab an ice cube versus trying to grab a sack of water. And I liked that too, right? Like, it's really easy to catch an ice cube out of the air. It's a lot harder to catch even a water balloon, right? Out of the air. But especially a floppy one.
So what he talks about in the beginning of the video, he talks about like when you're being grabbed and like how we respond, like we so you're grabbed and then you respond by like seizing, flinching. Our flinch is like
stiff.
Often stiff. Everything becomes stiff. Everything becomes like super. And so the relevance here, right, is like in that moment, grappling is really great for learning this concept, right? In this moment of stiffness, right, you become as vulnerable as you've ever been, right? And I've heard various like reasons that I don't believe at all for like why it is that we do that. Like when we were monkeys, we like didn't want to fall or something. Like I don't know. Like you grab you're like swinging through vines and then like you see a snake and you like just grab onto whatever it is that you've got in your hand to like make sure you don't fall off the. I don't know. Whatever.
That feels a little unlikely.
Sus.
Yeah, real sus, as the children would say.
But regardless, like I think it's generally true or considered true by people who've studied this that we do, like we seize, we tighten we clench, we seize, and our flinch response becomes like don't do anything and tighten everything, right? And like it's interesting because when you had shared this video to me, I had seen this other video. I had been watching this other video earlier. It was a BJJ video. We'll throw that on. Why not?
Why not? Here we are.
Yeah. So let me see if I can't come up with it here.
Well, yeah. I mean, while you work on that, I'll throw out, if for anyone that has ever tried to pick up a 2.5-year-old who's not in the mood to be picked up, you will understand hard versus soft, right? Because children go floppy in this way that makes them weigh 7 million pounds. And it's so hard to pick them up because they're just everywhere. They're just falling apart. But the moment they put their intention on not being picked up and they get real hard against you, well, then they're easy. You know, you just grab a wrist and you go. But when they're floppy, they're real tricky.
All right. So I've got this here. Let me share this.
Throwing it up, James. We're doing it. Maybe.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Applied, even though I need to like work through the finer details of it. Now, well, let's get into it.
Yeah.
Actually, just one thing like I noticed is just like, and this is probably like a problem with my ADCC matches, like you're able to use.
Do you have how's the volume?
It's
able
fine.
to like initiate those leg entries.
Yeah,
like, just like the 2-on-1 grips you're doing. Do you wanna...
Yeah. So I always try to keep you in front of me. You know, I'm always keeping you here, and I let you grab my legs either toriando or cross grip, right? Which is reverse toriando grips.
Yeah.
And every time you're either in one of these, I'm already starting to break your grips somehow. Yeah. And I bait you to keep the grips. So I'm here, and I try to make you break the grip, and now you activated your hand, so now you're keeping the grips. The second you activate your hand, where I'm not breaking your grip, now I can start entering into your legs.
Yeah.
So then that's going to make you let go of the grips. So then it becomes a fight of you keeping it or not, and it makes me really sticky because you're focused on keeping my legs, and I keep making you feel like I'm trying to take it off. So when you keep it, I'm already in on your legs.
Yeah.
So you go toriando on me here. I pummel my legs. I'm trying to break this, and as I break it here, and you keep like I start tacking in.
Right. Yeah. That's really good. Can I have a go?
Yeah. So here, like the person playing patty cake, we call it, like where they're like this, and you kind of like bait breaking it. And as you bait breaking it, if I keep it any second, now you can start coming into my leg. And when I come into the leg, I always go inside leg. If I go outside leg, they disengage too much.
Yeah.
So I always feel stronger when I go on the inside leg here. Now when I try to disengage, now under my front leg.
I like this. I like this one. Yeah. So he's
always
just
there.
Like, Mikey's discussed like this leg versus this leg. I always like this too.
It's so much
better.
better.
I like the heel hook as
yes,
well.
and then
like
the inside heel hook. Yes. And then you have it right there. Now you even
I need to use your.
In terms of disengaging.
Yeah.
Like every time you start going to get my inside leg, I try to back it away. Now the front leg's exposed. Opposed to us just going to the front leg, and then they always just kick out.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
We're going here, right? And then if they, it's already turning me.
You see, now you're already in, and I'm too stuck now. Like I'm in too deep.
You know what?
Like Sum 41, the song.
Probably.
Yeah. So that was the key. Like there's a bunch of stuff going on in that video.
For sure.
But like but the relevant part for me is like creating that basically creating that flinch response.
Yes.
Right? And using that as a as someone, you know, as someone who's aware of this, right? And it's funny because they're talking about like that patty cake or whatever that they're doing. They're you know, you're not trying to commit. You're being supple, right? So how do you get someone to commit? Is that you threaten or you give them this thing to flinch, to grab onto.
Yep.
Right? And that moment of time consumes your bandwidth. Right? It consumes your bandwidth, and it gives the openings that you were anticipating and that you were like trying to prevent, or you're trying to close those openings the whole time. Yeah. Right. So it's
yeah, I mean, like the phrase that I use with other people and that lives in my brain about this is he who holds is held. Right? I don't have to hold on to you if you hold on to me. Right?
Right.
And I just phrased that like I'm this fucking wise ass person who has overcome the urge to hold on for dear life. And that is absolutely wrong. Right? That's why it lives in my mind, because I will catch my own self doing it. Like, why am I holding on? He's dragging me around the room because I'm holding on. Exactly. Let go. You know? Yeah.
Yeah. So much of the, I mean, like there are days and moments where like anytime I've lost in exchange or gotten thrown around or whatever the case may be, I can frame, or I will frame it in my mind as attributing it to me holding on too long.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Because the moment, like, and also, especially with submission grappling, like like among all of the various practices that I engage in, but it's true in all of the various practices, including like playing music and whatever, right? Is that, but in submission grappling is so apparent, is that when you're fighting against strength, right? When you're in a weak position and you're fighting against strength, you get gassed, you feel helpless, right?
Yeah.
You're just, it's getting worse and worse as time goes by.
Right.
And if you're ever experiencing that, the truth is you're doing the wrong thing. You should, it may be that you don't know the right thing to do.
Yeah.
And that's okay, right? And in those moments, I'm not sure what's better. Should you fight, or should you just let the thing wash over you? Right? Like, okay, I don't know what to do here. I'm just gonna let this thing happen. I don't know what the correct answer is.
Sometimes you should just take a fall. Just take a fall. It'll be fine.
I think that, I think that's probably right.
Tap early and often, friends.
Tap early and often, right? But that being said, like, whatever the case, however you deal with those situations when they happen, the approach that I've been trying to take is like, no, don't accept those moments and say, if I could just get stronger, if I can just, like, figure out what the position was and what the efficient, right? That's a term. Jiu-jitsu is so funny. I often wonder how things are translated, like what words, the words that we use in our technical jargon in jiu-jitsu, like, are they Brazilian? Did they start as being Brazilian, or is something lost in translation? Efficient is a word that is constantly thrown around, right? Efficient jiu-jitsu. That's efficient jiu-jitsu. And I believe that what efficient means in a jiu-jitsu context or a submission grappling context is like the thing that requires zero energy, right? Like the thing that you can just move effortlessly, versus the thing that you might be able to win if you're stronger, but you're fighting strength with strength, or if they don't know and neither of you are letting go, right?
Yeah.
But like in swordsmanship, we have a name for that too, right? Like I tell my students all the time, and any one of my students will tell you the moment it's happening, watching an exchange, the moment they see it, every one of them will be like, y'all are being buffaloes, right? Like buffalo is a real thing that really exists and you can see it.
Yeah.
Right. And it's when two people are fighting for a bind, right?
Yeah.
And they're both trying to win the bind unequivocally. I would also say that it can be neither are trying to win the bind. I would say that you're being buffaloes.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Because a buffalo is someone who fences without fuel in. It's not just like, what we tend to like to sum it up as like someone who fights with like just aggressively and just like trying to power through and not, I would say like a buffalo is someone who fences without fueling, which can mean is always hard, but can also mean is always soft, or rather strong or weak. That's, a buffalo.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry. So that's it. That's my, I'm feeling accomplished.
Yeah, I loved your energy there. You're just like, damn, I got this. Yeah, no. But that's it. I'm completely with you. I love all of that. And I think it applies to so much of life. You and I, when we first got on here doing our tech check, said something about it's all one art, right? And we were kind of
riffing on that,
having a moment about it. And I think we're back to that. I think that, so much of my life, not just my martial arts practice, but just living my daily life, I think, damn, if I could just let go, you know, stop holding on, stop, you know, being fish hooked in this moment.
Well, okay,
you know?
okay. Climbing analogy, if you would,
Yeah.
if you'll indulge me, right?
Yeah.
Because this like I'm like wading very gently into a domain that you have much higher degree of proficiency in.
And still
But
none.
we'll say imagine for a moment that you're like holding yourself up, right?
Yeah.
Like you're on the rocks and you're holding yourself up,
Yeah.
right? Except that like, and your feet are also participating in this,
Yeah.
right? Except that you could just channel your body into the rocks below your feet,
Sure.
right? You could just let go with your arms and just relax into the rock,
Yeah.
right? And like, that's efficient jujitsu,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? Stop trying to keep yourself up and let yourself relax. And as long as you're orienting your body in the, you know, using the right physics and balance and etc., then your body will just stay on the rock.
Yep.
Right. Now
I mean,
that you
that
can't
is
always
true.
do that. You can't always do that, right? Sometimes you need to like reach and jump and grab and but like
Well,
don't
I'm
go.
gonna give you a slightly different one, and then I think we're almost at time. But what I have had to consciously put in my mind in my practice is keep moving, because what happens to me, James, is I get in a spot that I feel a little scared about, and then I go, and then I just stick,
Yeah.
right? Because I'm scared to make the next move. But the thing is the more I stick, the more I'm stuck.
Yeah.
And then
Oh, yeah.
then I actually can't make the next move.
Yeah.
I burn out so much energy just clinging to a precarious spot because the next move feels scary. But the next move might be actually
you
where
can
my
relax in.
rest is. Where my rest is. Yeah. And it often is. It often is. So so that's what I've had to put into my practice. Isn't let go, but just keep moving. Just
No,
keep
yeah,
on.
that's really interesting, right? Like those moments, it's like it works back, it like it compels you to behave in the opposite of the way that you should be behaving, right? Which is like in those moments that you're feeling the most pressure, the most stress, the most required energy to keep yourself up, right? Those are the moments that you have this subconscious desire to hang out in the longest.
Right.
Right.
Yes.
Right. When when the truth is like maybe literally like one action will relieve all of it.
All of it. Yeah. That's it. That's it, baby. Apply that shit to your lives, y'all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Wow. That's pretty freaking profound.
It is. It is. So, all right. We should wrap it with that.
Okay.
That's a good end.
It was good to see you. And
It's good to see you.
I'll talk to you soon.
All right.